Hello and good evening to you. Welcome to News 360 and it's live Money News up here at Desawa in Kanda. My name is Alfred Okanse.
And I'm Natalie Fort. Let's get into the headlines for this evening.
News 360 headlines is brought to you by
Cabinet to consider legal action against 9 Ghanaians for registering a private entity to manage the University of Ghana Medical Center.
Also, the Small Scale Miners Association says it has lost $551 million of investments within government's 9-month ban on illegal and small-scale mining operations.
Also ahead this evening, encroachers take over portions of Civil Aviation Authority's directional range, comprising aviation safety.
Interior Minister Ambrose Derry dismisses calls for resignation of the Inspector General of Police following attacks on police officers.
And on the international front this evening, President Museveni of Uganda declares his love for U.S. President Donald Trump, citing his frankness. We've got the details of these stories for you here on News 360, including the latest from the world of sports and entertainment. We're streaming live on 3news.com as well as TV3 Ghana on Facebook. Let's get started with our very first story this evening. Cabinet will soon be considering a legal suit against some 9 Ghanaians who registered the University of Ghana Medical School as a private company. These individuals are the former Vice-Chancellor of the University of Ghana, Professor Ernest Ayite, and a former Deputy Minister of Health, Rojo Metal Nonu, among 7 others.
Immediate Vice-Chancellor of the University of Ghana, Professor Ernest Ayite, and a former Deputy Minister of Health, Rojo Metal Nonu, including other 7 members, Eroni Lante Lawson, Ebenezer Owusu, Ni Aye, were named in the findings. Karen Akiomitano, Andran Odoe, Frances Mensah, and Patrick Ayekumi are all directors of the company. According to the investigations by the Ministry of Health, these individuals claimed that they received the approval to register privately from the then University Council. They again explained that the council granted them the opportunity to facilitate the building of the facility through an amount of $270 million secured from the Ministry of Health. But currently, the facility has not been in operation because the Ministry of Health needs additional $6 million to make the facility work.
We feel that it is not the right thing to do. We have come to power. 1 year on, we've been discussing this behind the media. We didn't want to go to the media. Let's discuss, Jojo, find the best solution so that once we come out with a solution, we implement the project and the project is out there for everybody to use. Then they tend to instigate the media against us that, oh, these people, they want to, because of the tussle between the Ministry of Health and the Ministry and the University of Ghana, they don't want to operationalize the project.
However, after discovering these procedural errors and perceived financial misappropriation, the Ministry of Health has presented its findings to Cabinet for advice. Cabinet is therefore expected to consider legal suits against those mentioned in their findings.
So if Cabinet recommends that they should be brought before the law court, is this something the Ministry will support?
Of course, if my boss is a cabinet minister,
exactly.
So when cabinet takes such decision, we cannot be part of a group, and when a decision is made, you say, I'm not going to implement. No. And when cabinet even decides that it be taken to court, it is the Attorney General, which is who is the legal advisor to the government, and they will take the matter up.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health said the tendering and procurement process should have received parliamentary approval.
Anything about the university that requires parliamentary approval or cabinet approval has to go to the cabinet and parliament for approvals. So how can they claim to be autonomous? Their autonomy, I understand, might be limited in a way, but not on such matters.
Let's still stay with this particular story. Earlier on Midday Live, former Deputy Health Minister, who has been named as one of the directors of the University of Ghana Medical Center Company Limited, attempted an explanation on the matter.
Can you tell us, from your point of view, are you a registered name? Is it registered in your name, the medical center?
Well, to start with, the registration of the University of Ghana Medical Center Limited with our names as directors is correct.
Okay. So
secondly, the deputy minister in the discussion had all the opportunity through his minister. They were properly briefed, handing over notes were made available. We made reference to a 2015 agreement between the Ministry of Health and the university, where ownership and management of the facility was handed over to the university for them to proceed with incorporating the entity. The University Council, therefore, directed the legal department of the University of Ghana to carry out the registration. And the substantive people you've named were the selection of the University Council. We didn't just get up and incorporate the University of Ghana Medical Center. The legal department of the University of Ghana incorporated the entity. Professor Ernest Aite, the outgoing Vice Chancellor, was asked by the University Council to head the board because he had been championing the project until his exit as a Vice Chancellor. Who is more qualified than a very eminent economic professor, who is also a former Vice Chancellor, to help this institution to be established?
Meanwhile, former Vice-Chancellor of the University of Ghana, Professor Ernest Aite, says those who are confused by the arrangement made by the university at the time are illiterates. He wondered why the Deputy Health Minister would continue to wallow in ignorance.
There are records to show that the name of the company is University of Ghana Medical Center Company Limited. It is owned by the University of Ghana. The company has only one shareholder, University of Ghana. The statement made by the Deputy Minister of Health, which is a follow-up to what the Minister of Health said yesterday on the Joseph, it's clearly very illiterate. It shows no understanding of how companies are registered in Ghana or anywhere else. When you register something, you have to provide the names of directors. Any company at all that you register, you have to provide the names of the directors, the people that stand purely for that company. Since it is a company that is owned by University of Ghana, I was authorized as Vice Chancellor to represent the University of Ghana. And Professor Lawson, as the project manager, was also authorized by the council to represent its interests. So there were two directors that were named. These are the first directors of the company. That was even before the council could put together a board a year later. So the suggestion by the minister and his deputy is a very illiterate one. I couldn't believe that anybody who had been to school, anybody who had seen the forms that are used to register companies could make such a statement. I couldn't believe that a deputy minister, a member of parliament, could utter such language. I mean, clearly there's something wrong with that ministry. The ministry has huge challenges. It needs to come to terms with what these challenges are. But its leadership is not showing any understanding of very basic issues.
Well, following this controversy surrounding the building and operation of the University of Ghana Medical Center, we put together a news desk report highlighting the genesis of the project and what the situation is now.
The construction of the 650-bed capacity of the University of Ghana Medical Center started in April 2013 as a turnkey project by Messrs Engineering and Development Consultants Limited of Israel, with Sheba Medical Center Israel as the medical consultants. Phase 1 of the project was due for practical completion in November 2016, but due to a number of challenges, the completion date was shifted to July-August 2017. As part of the project package, a total of about 71 Ghanaian health personnel undertook a short-term hands-on training at Sheba Medical Center. It is said that after the contract, another agreement was entered into between Ministry of Health and the University of Ghana in 2015, which gave the university the opportunity to own the hospital. Based on this agreement, a company was established by the university to serve as a special purpose channel that will oversee the operations of the facility. An approval was also obtained from the Ministry of Finance and the Public Services Commission to recruit staff for the hospital. Few days ago, the Ministry of Health laid claim to the hospital. This has led to the stalling of activities at the facility, including recruitment of workers. Some sources also indicate a $48 million package is being secured to start the next phase of the project. Former President Mahama commissioned the first phase of the facility with the expectation that the current government will ensure it is operational.
So that was a profile on the genesis of this particular University of Ghana Medical Center. And the concern really is the ownership structure and the management structure of this entity. That is what has come into question in the recent days. Now, I'm going to run us by the company profile of the medical center and the business details specifically to gain a bit of clarity on this issue. The business entity type is actually registered as a company with shares, and therefore shareholders are involved in the company system. Company type is registered as a private entity. It's registered as a private company. And the entity name is the University of Ghana Medical Center Company Limited. The University of Ghana is certainly not a private university. It's a public university, but the company type is a private company for the medical center. The registration number is indicated on your screens as well. And the original incorporation date of this center was September 10, 2015, and the commencement date September 11, 2015 as well. And the nature of the business is a health and a pharmaceutical one. It's the health and pharmacy industry. Now, to bring some more details on the profile of the entity, it's described as, the business details described as, the management of the medical center is to the University of Ghana. And there certainly has been heated dispute between the health ministry and the authorities of the school with regards to the management of the health center. The principal activity, same, the management of the medical center belongs to the University of Ghana, and that's where the controversy does come up. Now, what has also received quite a lot of debate recently is the director's details of this health center. And as we would know, former Deputy Health Minister Roger Nunu and former Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana, Professor Ernest Ayite, and Professor Aaron Nilante Lawson were all accused of registering the newly built 650-bed University of Ghana health facility in their names. And that's where questions do come. I'm going to run us by the directors now. The names of the directors: Ernest Ayite has a position of director. Aaron Nilante, as I mentioned earlier, Aaron Nilante Lawson, a director as well. Ebenezer Owusu, Robert Joseph Metal Nonu, Ni Aye, and Karen Tano, Akumi Tano, Adrian Odoi, Francis Mensah, and Patrick Ayekumi. Now, all these individuals here are directors of the organization. Briefly, the Companies Act, and this is Section 9, types of company. And the reason I'm running us through this is to be able to gain clarity on the private company structure. Now, a private company shall be a company which is bound by the following regulations. 1, which restricts the right to transfer its shares if there are any shares. And as we saw earlier, this particular medical center does have shares in this context. Limits of the total number of its members and debunture holders to 50, not including persons who are bona fide in the employment of the company and persons having been formally bona fide in the employment of the company. And lastly, it prohibits the company from making any invitation to the public to acquire shares or debentures of the company, and it prohibits the company further from making any invitation to the public to deposit money for fixed deposits or payable at call, whether bearing or not bearing interest. This is quite technical, but this just goes to raise questions on the ownership and the management structure of this particular hospital. Is it managed in the personal capacities of the persons I named earlier, in the name of the university, or in the Ghana Health Service? And that's what we've been probing throughout the day, and we're certainly going to continue probing here on News 360. On to you, Alfred.
Absolutely, and that's a very clear understanding and a picture of how this University of Ghana Medical Center that's limited, as is stated here, or University of Ghana Medical Center Company Limited. This is special purpose vehicle that, according to the former Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana, was created to manage this particular medical center which we're talking about. I've been joined by a legal practitioner, lawyer Martin Pebo, to help us understand the legal basis of this. Lawyer, good evening to you. Thank you very much for your time this evening. Now, from the understanding that Prof. Saite gives to us, this special purpose vehicle received approval from the then University Council. Now, should the special purpose vehicle come in this form, as in a private company, with the directors being himself as a Vice Chancellor at the time, and then the former Deputy Minister of Health?
Well, I should say I don't find anything objectionable with the form of the special purpose vehicle. Presumably, because the Vice Chancellor was the Chief Executive of the university, they would want him to be at the helm of affairs for the medical center company as well. You see, the fact that you hear the name private company does not necessarily mean that the company is owned by them privately. No. The private company is essentially about the number of shareholders, the number. You see, your colleague read out the Companies Act, the part that says that the number of shareholders should not exceed 50. So if the number exceeds 50, then you want to form a public company that any person can come and buy shares in the company, you see. So to be candid, the fact that the company formed is a private company, it's not objectionable. No, that per se doesn't show anything untoward. What is expected is that to the extent that the Vice Chancellor has left office, he has to resign. And that applies to any other person who is not in office as well.
As a matter of fact, he stated that he is no more a member of the board of this particular company we're talking about, this special purpose vehicle that was formed to manage this medical center, we're saying. But then the question about conflict of interest. I mean, at the time when this company, this special purpose vehicle was formed, that was in 2015, because the date of commencement of business we are seeing, as per the documents that we have here, is 2015, as is captured here. That's 11 September 2015. The original incorporation date of 10 September 2015. He was still the Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana then. Would you pinpoint or identify any issue with the conflict of interest there at the time when he was the director of this special purpose vehicle and also the University of Ghana Legon Vice Chancellor?
On the face of it, no. I do not find an issue of conflict of interest because the owner of the company, the special purpose vehicle, is the University of Ghana. And the Vice Chancellor was working at the same time as Chief Executive of the University of Ghana. So presumably, the owner, that's the university itself, authorized him to form, and the rest of the board members, to form the company. So on the face of it, conflict does not arise. You see, conflict of interest arises where the director in one company sets up a rival company. That is to say, Company A, for example, is engaged in the provision of medical services. So let's say the University Medical Center. Then one of these directors also surreptitiously sets up another company and a hospital on the site to provide the same services, and also does not seek the consent of the first hospital, that's where he is employed. So that is to say that even setting up a rival business by itself is not conflict. provided you would have disclosed same to your original employer, and if he consents.
Okay, but like, I want to find out this. Conflict of interest is in 3 levels, at least from what I studied in public administration class. There's real, there's apparent, and then there is perceived conflict of interest. In the face of the facts as we have it, you say that in the face of it, there may not be that case. But let's look at it from these 3 levels. Do you necessarily need to personally benefit from a situation before it becomes conflict of interest?
No, you don't necessarily have to. But conflict of interest is not absolute. You see, when I say it is not absolute, I'm talking about the laws of Ghana. You see, we have the general framework of conflict of interest. Then we also have the specific statute. So in statute, the overriding principle is that, are you undertaking another business without the consent of your employer? You say it. So that's why I said, yes, once there is consent, informed consent, and once you don't also participate in the decision of the employer to allow you to set up the rival business, then we can say that conflict doesn't arise.
Right. Thank you very much for your time this evening. As well, it is stated that the University of Ghana Council at the time was the one that actually nominated him to be on the board of that special purpose vehicle, being that company. We're still going to be staying a bit further in the subsequent bulletins on this particular story that's unfolding in a rather different way. But the Aviation Ministry is to demolish structures on Ghana Civil Aviation Authority's very high omnidirectional range, that's VOR, compromising aviation safety. Private developers have encroached on large portions of the 150-meter buffer zone, which facilitates the control and the movement of aircrafts.
This is the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority's Very High Omnidirectional Range, VOR, located near the East Legon Police Station. Its core function is to control the movement of all aircraft coming to the Kotoka International Airport, including any other airplanes using the Ghanaian airspace. Per international standards, no structure is to be sited within 150-meter radius of the VOR enclave. Again, no high-rise building beyond 2 stories are to be located within the immediate environs of the VOR. However, private developers have encroached greater portions of the 150-meter buffer zone. This heavy-duty equipment depot is alleged to be owned by Ibrahim Mahama, brother of the former president John Mahama. There are other infrastructure developments around the facility, with some very close to the walls of the VOR. Adjacent the equipment depot is a developer who has ignored an AMA removal order twice and now digging a foundation around an aviation warning signpost. The sector minister, Cecilia Dapa, thinks the lawlessness must be halted to safeguard the aviation installation.
They have encroached too close to the wall. It should have been 150 meters away from the wall. So we came here this morning just to ascertain for ourselves as to whether the encroachment is imaginary or real. We are going to use that roadmap to make sure these buildings come down, because they cannot interfere with the efficacy of these machines, which direct planes to land. We will not allow that.
Director General of the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority, Simon Alote, is worried.
There are signages all over about the airport protection zone. But the most important thing is to consult the Civil Aviation or Airports Company if you are in doubt.
But how do the developers get the permit to their property?
Well, we have not approved any land within this perimeter or within the external perimeter. If it's a state land, it cannot be granted. But it goes beyond the state acquisition. A certain area of the land is not owned by the state.
With the looming danger staring, the ministry and its allied agencies would have to wait for the decision from court to take any action.
Let's turn to other stories this evening. Now, the Interior Minister Ambrose Derry has dismissed calls for the Inspector General of Police to resign following recent attacks on a police station. Briefing the media after a meeting with the Defence and Interior Committee of Parliament, he said there isn't enough justification for such a move.
A lot of people have expressed worry over the killings of police personnel. The recent attack on the Kwabena police station, where a police officer was shot and killed by armed robbers, have sparked more fear and concern among the populace. Owing to the insecurity, the Parliament Committee on Defence and Interior invited the Interior Minister, the Inspector General of Police, and other top police officers to explain steps being taken to bring the situation under control. The Interior Minister, after the meeting, told the media calls for the IGP to resign cannot be right.
We look at the statistics over the years. I'm sure there are several IGPs who have been sacked. Would that have solved the problem? I believe that we need to confront the issue. What happened about Kwabena? We want to know. The police are on top of it. They are investigating. They are making progress. We believe we will get back the people who have perpetrated it, and we'll deal with it.
He also spoke on the nomadic herdsmen menace.
The Fulani as a tribe is a noble tribe. The Fulani recalcitrant herdsmen, the criminal people, will be dealt with in the same way every other criminal will be dealt with in this country. But having said that, I'm the first one to admit that we need a permanent solution. And the permanent solution is not just ad hoc things. We are talking about the Agric Ministry and other ministers coming together. Are we agreeing areas that will be grazing areas? Are we agreeing where they will stay? What are the conditions? But in all these security agencies, I'll have to up their game to make sure that people are here, have the right to be here. And you know the other challenge is that we have free movement of goods and persons.
The IGP says the police will continue to protect lives.
We are behind our men. I mean, we assure and reassure them that things that have happened is not going to break our resolve to protect the people of this country. And they should continue. That is our sworn mandate. And we continue to protect life and property and maintain law and order in this country.
James Agaga is the ranking member of the Defence and Interior Committee.
The issues that came up for interrogation were done. There was some in-depth exposition with relation to the issues, and we are generally very satisfied.
The Minority Leader, Haruna Idris, wants the Interior and National Security Ministers invited to brief Parliament on the state of the country's security. He says fresh attacks on the police and military officers in their line of duty is worrying.
Members of Parliament resumed work Tuesday after a month break. Attendance, particularly from the majority side, was low. The first Deputy Speaker, Joseph Oseusu, who was in the chair, indicated the Speaker, Professor Michael Kwe, could not assume the chair because he was acting as President of the Republic. Minority Leader Haruna Idris noted the level of insecurity in the country demand Parliament's attention.
In the course of this week, probably, we should be getting the Minister for Interior and National Security to brief the House. The security of citizens and particularly the police service is very important. Happenings in Kwabena is worrying, and we need to hear from them and resource them adequately and probably equip them and maybe even review some of our budgetary allocations if we can, in order that they can deal with matters relative to the incidents of crime in the country.
Ranking member of the Defence and Interior Committee, James Agaga, indicated the level of insecurity prompted the committee to meet with the police top hierarchy and the Interior Minister. The fate of the two former Guantanamo Bay detainees also came up. MP for North Town Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa wanted to know the plans of the executive on the matter.
We are affronting the decision of the Supreme Court. So, Mr. Speaker, it's a very urgent matter that I want to find out from the chairman of the Business Committee if an agreement is ready for this House for ratification, seeing that we are breaching Article 75(2) of the Constitution.
The Minority Leader added his voice.
That judgment must be respected. You either bring it for ratification or you send them home.
But this was what the Majority Leader said.
I'm aware
of certain moves that are being made with respect to that. I wouldn't want to make any disclosure until the relevant information is transmitted to Parliament.
The issue is not really about bringing anything before the House, because the agreement under which the two were brought into the country has expired. If the government is minded to enter into another agreement, and it so does, then that agreement may be brought to the House for ratification.
Still in Parliament, the 5-member committee probing the cash for seed saga has been asked to submit its report to the House by January 31.
You're watching News 360, streaming live all across the world on 3news.com as well as TV3 Ghana on Facebook. We've got the latest of news from the world of business shortly. Stay with us. You're watching News 360. Thanks for staying with us. Let's do business with me, Nanekia Mensah Bampa. To mining, and the Small Scale Miners Association says it has lost $551 million of investment within 9 months of government's ban on illegal and small-scale mining operations. Now, this, the association claims, has rendered more than 1 million youth working on 800 mining concessions jobless.
Government imposed a 6-month ban on all forms of small-scale mining in a bid to clamp down on the destructive activities of illegal miners. The ban, which was expected to be lifted by the end of October last year, was extended for 3 more months, prompting protests by the Small-Scale Miners Association in the Ashanti region. Till date, there are reports of the illegal activities still ongoing in some parts of the country, even with the existence of government's anti-Galamsey task force Operation Vanguard to monitor the situation on the ground. Their final encounter with the government 2 weeks ago reveals that the ban could be lifted by the end of this month.
Operation Vanguard is on the field. The Small Scale Miners Association has also been on the field with their task force to support and clear the river bodies. We've also seen the inauguration of the district mining committees that will handle mining at the district level or at the local level. So with all this in place, why do we need any ban? I don't think any need for extension.
General Secretary of the association, Godwin Ama, explained the ban has also affected those within the supply chain of mining. He was worried most of them will soon have their license expired, though they have not been operating for almost a year.
Now that we've looked at this, let's look at our licenses. And because over a year you've not worked, it has cost you. How are you going to mitigate that? And I think that's the next line of action. But now we are more focused on lifting the ban and making sure that we go. Then the next issue is we look at all this.
On banking matters, the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, says the proposed measure of ADB and NIB into a new development bank as of now remains an intention of government. He says nothing has been communicated to the central bank about plans to make it a reality.
The Minister of Finance, Ken Oforiatta, in the 2018 budget statement indicated that government is working to merge the Agricultural Development Bank, ADB, and the National Investment Bank, NIB, to create a National Development Bank. Government hopes to raise some $500 million to help recapitalize the development bank to finance its industrialization and agri agenda. At the Monetary Policy Conference, the media inquired of the governor on progress made regarding the merger of the two banks and if the private ownership in ADB will affect it.
I don't know where you are getting that from. To the best of my knowledge, it is still an intention. I'm not sure if they have even formally written to the supervision department to indicate that they want to merge as a single bank.
Banking consultant Dr. Richmond Etuahini says it is important for the governor to tread cautiously on the subject, as if there is any move, it will be coming from the Ministry of Finance.
I'm sure by June or maybe September, a policy statement would have come what NIB on ADB will have to be. Because I'm not sure government would like to recapitalize the two banks and at the same time leave it to be run like that. So I'm sure people are preparing a paper on it to tell us, but the governor had to not to come in at all and wait until the sector minister comes in with a policy statement. That's why he had to tread cautiously.
On the resignation of the second deputy governor, Dr. Johnson Isiama, from his post, the governor, Dr. Addison, had this to say.
I have been known to have been saying that for the first time, the Bank of Ghana had 3 governors who were all from within, right? So I was quite proud to have all 3 governors coming from the research department when I was a director in the research department. So I'm the last one who would do anything, to make a deputy governor feel uncomfortable. Okay? Now, secondly, the government is yet to nominate the replacement of the second deputy governor.
All right, so let's quickly move on to the commodities on the world markets to see what is happening there for the current price of gold. Well, it has remained a bit steady on the world market, hovering around $1,300.65. We had it at $1,337.65 there today on the world market. But apart from gold, one that would really interest you has to do with the price of a barrel of oil on the world market. And this is one thing that motorists as well as commuters are worried about when it comes to the price of a barrel of oil on the world markets. Now trading at $69.87, gradually walking slowly to the $70 mark, which is feared that this could trigger another increase in prices of fuel for the first pricing window in February this year, as analysts have predicted, should government not have any interventions at all when it comes to the price of oil, that is the finished product, which is petroleum, on the world markets, and its trickle-down effect will be felt here in Ghana. So we're still yet to hear from government on this particular subject matter, but that is the price of oil on the world market. What happens to us? Are we going to see an increase or not? We'll get you the answers later in subsequent bulletins. But for now, that's it for business. My name is Nanikia Mensah Mapa. More on News 360.
Hello, good evening. Time to run by you the major sporting stories for the day. And there's confusion about which venues will host 3 Greater Accra teams in the Ghana Premier League next season, with the Accra Sports Stadium set to undergo major renovation works for the Women's Cup of Nations.
Inter-allies, Accra Hearts of Oak and Liberty Professionals are all hoping to use the Accra Sports Stadium as the base for their Ghana Premier League games, but that is in doubt now. Deputy Sports Minister Pius Hajide confirmed to TV3 Sports that Accra Hearts of Oak have known, for instance, since the end of last season, that the stadium will be closed down at some point for renovation works depending on the contractor. Hearts meanwhile say they have never been told exactly when or how the closure will happen. Hakman Adu is the club's administrative manager.
The position of the sports ministry was that it's true they were going to close down the stadium, but not the entire stadium. They just wanted to do renovation at the VIP stand, so they were going to do the work phase by phase, meaning that we could still use the park and the popular stand for our matches, as they also do their work at the VIP side. When there is the need for them to come to the popular stand as well, they would let us know. And for up to now, nobody has given us any word that, no, maybe you can't even use the facility because of this or that. We just been hearing from the radio stations and the social media that the stadium is going to be closed down. So really, we are hearing the rumor, but there is no official notification as to the authenticity of this information.
Inter-allies are hoping to switch venues to the Accra Sports Stadium, as are Liberty Professionals, but both clubs say they are unaware of any closure of major renovation works that would affect that. With the Ministry of Youth and Sport insisting major renovation works are needed for the Nations Cup, there could be major challenges ahead for both clubs. The Tema Stadium and Elwak could be alternative venues, but for Hearts, they could be forced to play their home games in Cape Coast. The implication of such a move for revenue and television coverage of the league are dire.
We all know the league is starting about 2-3 weeks' time, and it's now that the ministry is going to tell us to relocate to where? When are we going to make such arrangement and then we start? It will be a problem, and I don't think it will be so.
Elsewhere, clubs in Major League Soccer in the United States of America are heading back for preseason as one of the world's fastest growing leagues prepares to spring back into action. It is also a league that is increasingly beginning to attract a lot more Ghanaian talent, as Yao Fusilabi reports.
It is gradually becoming a favorite league for Ghanaian players. From the days of Joado, when no one in Ghana particularly cared about the Major League Soccer, the league has grown to become a destination that attracts some of the brightest and smartest Ghanaian footballers. And after draft weekend, there are new Ghanaian faces to keep up with in America's fastest growing league.
2018 MLS Super Draft, the Columbus Crew SC select from the University of Virginia and member of Generation Adidas, midfielder Edward Opoku.
Francis Etiahene and Edward Opoku will add to the already established Ghanaian presence in the league. Etiahene has gone to FC Dallas. Opoku will add to a strong Ghanaian presence at Columbus Crew, where there are 4 other Ghanaian players, including the established duo of Jonathan Mensah and Harrison Affle. There's also David Akam, who has switched from Chicago Fire to Philadelphia Union, and Latif Blessing, who is now on the books of Los Angeles after spending a season at Sporting Kansas City. While many of those players joined the MLS as established names, Etiahene and Opoku are the product of a deliberate scheme to mix academics with sports in much the same way that Lala Abubakari at Columbus Crew did. And with salaries that many of the players admit they won't earn in Europe, it seems it won't be long before a lot more Ghanaians eye the Major League Soccer.
Let's do some World Cup bidding story then. And Morocco are aiming to become only the second African country to host the World Cup after it launched its campaign for the 2026 tournament in Casablanca. The North African nation are bidding for a Fifth World Cup and face competition from a joint bid proposed by Canada, Mexico, and the United States of America. The decision on who will host the event will be made on June 13, a day before the 2018 World Cup kicks off in Russia. Morocco will be hoping to be fate time lucky, having failed in 1994, 98, 2006, and 2010 with separate bids.
On to some entertainment news this evening, and as Michael rightly said, South African jazz legend and anti-apartheid activist Hugh Masekela is dead. Masekela, 78, had been battling prostate cancer since 2008. The international music icon is said to have died peacefully, surrounded by family.
Known as the father of South African jazz, Hugh Masekela enjoyed an outstanding career spanning over 5 decades. The award-winning singer and saxophonist was born in the town of Witbank, South Africa in 1939. Masekela, who left South Africa aged 21, began an exile that would last 3 decades. His sound hit the global nerve in 1968 when his instrumental single, Grazing in the Grass, went to #1 on the US charts. Masekela's career consisted of close friendships with jazz legends such as Miles Davis, Johnny Coltrane, and Charles Mingus, as well as performances alongside stars Paul Simon, Janis Joplin, Otis Redding, and Jimi Hendrix in the 1960s. He was married to singer and activist Miriam Makeba, known as Mama Africa, from 1964 to 1966. Masekela gained international recognition with his distinctive Afro-jazz sound and hits such as Soweto Blues, which became one of the soundtracks of the anti-apartheid movement.
That's when the policeman came to the rescue, where the children were flying, bullets
bring him back home, Nelson Mandela, written while Masekela was living in exile, called for the release of the then imprisoned Mandela and was banned by the apartheid regime.
Bring back Nelson Mandela, bring him back home to Soweto. I want to see him walking down the street.
A statement from his family Tuesday said, Hugh's global and activist contribution to and participation in the areas of music, theatre and the arts in general is contained in the minds and memory of millions. Rest in power, beloved, you are forever in our hearts. At the time of filing this report, tributes were already pouring in for the man whose sound arguably rewrote South African history and African music. South African President Jacob Zuma released a statement saying it is an immeasurable loss to the music industry and to the country at large. His contribution to the struggle for liberation will never be forgotten. Adding, the nation would mourn a man who kept the torch of freedom alive. Arts and Culture Minister of South Africa, Nathi Mthethwa, tweeted, "A baobab tree has fallen. The nation has lost a one-of-a-kind." In 2017, Forbes Africa ranked Hugh Masekela the third most bankable artist in Africa. On the 19th of January 2018, the Recording Academy announced Hugh Masekela's Grazing in the Grass from 1968 as one of its newest inductions to its distinctive Grammy Hall of Fame. Hugh Masekela died with 2 Grammy wins and 7 nominations to his name.
He was more than just a musician, legendary jazz trumpeter there. You can safely say that music is indeed where the home is. Jointly, the host of heaven as a trumpeter in the heavenly choir. Wish him well. Joining him later on the other side of life. But still entertainment this evening, Christian Morgan is entreating all talented children with special needs not to miss out on the opportunity to realize your dreams by auditioning for this year's Talented Kids program. Morgan, a runner-up in the 2017 edition of Talented Kids, recently released a music video for his single, Ebubrum Kosia.
During the show in 2017, he captured the audience, moved the judges, and won the heart of the nation. Growing up in a society where persons with disability are at a disadvantage was a difficult one for Christian. He therefore hails Talented Kids as the power behind his early breakthrough. He, however, admits there's still more work to be done for him to be successful in the entertainment industry.
This year, may feature Kanata.
This year, I will feature Kinata and Nero X. I am hoping Shatawale will come on board as well.
In August 2017, Christian dropped his debut single, Ebubrum Kosia, and on World Disability Day on December 3, he released the video. The young artist, who has become a poster child for advocating for issues on disability, believes he has set a precedence for children with special needs to follow. Morgan is therefore urging all children with special needs to attend in their numbers the audition for the 2018 edition of TV3's Talented Kids.
This year, Talented Kids is the 9th.
I am urging all of you to go for the audition. It shall be well. That is how I came out third last year. By God's grace, you can be first.
Yes, demons, you're fan on with the first.
Christian Morgan, who is currently without a music manager, aims to use his newfound fame to create awareness on glaucoma, an eye disease which cost him his sight. With support from an NGO, Spread Love Home and Abroad, the focus of the campaign will be on early and regular eye screening for children.
Talented Kids, I love them.
That's a very inspiring one there by Christian Morgan. On to some international news this evening. On the international front, President Yoweri Museveni of Uganda has given a speech declaring his love for U.S. President Donald Trump. Earlier this month, Mr. Trump was accused of referring to African nations as shithole countries. During an immigration meeting, Mr. Trump has denied making the remarks, but U.S. senators who attended the meeting say that he did make those remarks. America has got one of the best presidents ever. That's what Museveni said to the laughter during the opening of the East African Legislative Assembly in the Ugandan capital of Kampala. I love Trump because he tells Africans frankly, the Africans need to solve their problems. Africans are weak. Those are the words of the Ugandan President Museveni there.
Well,
it's actually quite a controversial comment there on Africans being African.
Yeah, there are some Ghanaians who believe that he said it as it is. He was very straightforward. And Yoweri Museveni being who he is, as frank as he speaks, if you've followed him since he became president, you can safely say he has some love for Trump's
You would still
style.
thought a personality
And say
like
it
Trump.
as it is.
Well,
and speak the truth.
shithole country. Right.
Well, on behalf of the rest of the team, we want to say thank you for staying with us over the 60 minutes. My name is Alfred Okansi.
And I'm Natalie Forts. There's more news on our website, 3news.com, and news at 10 this evening will simulcast on our sister station, that's 3FM 92.7. Thanks so much for watching. Have a lovely evening.